I'm Rick Martinez. I am a cookbook author, chef, and writer. Today, I'm gonna be teaching you how to make an iconic soup from Mexico, Sopa Azteca. You might also know it as a sopa de tortilla. It is a chicken soup topped with fried, spicy chilies and beautiful strips of golden fried tortillas. It's like a hug from your mom on a cold winter day, and it's really easy. You are gonna absolutely love it. The first thing that we're gonna do is char our vegetables. So we need a ripping hot skillet, and I'm using cast iron because I love cast iron. It holds heat very efficiently, but I'm also very sensitive to the finish. So what I'm gonna use is foil. You just wanna press the foil into the pan. This is going to provide a surface for your vegetables to get charred. So it doesn't matter if they stick to the foil, they're not gonna hurt the pan. It's gonna make cleanup really, really super easy. We're gonna be charring tomatoes. The tomatoes that I'm using are Roma tomatoes, mainly because these are very, very common throughout Mexico. So I'm using about 3/4 of a pound. So I'm just gonna throw these into the pan. The other thing that we're gonna be using is white onion, and I'm only gonna use 1/4 of this. All we wanna do now is just throw this in as well. I'm just gonna put cut side down. I'm also going to peel this garlic. It's lightly crushed, just throw those in as well. These are gonna take a little bit of time, so between 12 and 16 minutes total for all the vegetables to get nice and charred on all sides. So now, while that's charring, I am going to work on the chilies. I'm gonna use gloves because you don't wanna rub your eye or, touch somebody else with chili hands. So for this particular soup, I'm actually using guajillos and chili anchos. So I'm going to now take out the stems and seed from these chilies. I typically take out the seeds of the bigger chilies and the stems just because they're a little woodier. And so, if you have a few seeds left over in there, that's totally fine, but this is basically how you want the chili to look. And these are a little bit easier because the seeds don't really stick and they just all kind of fall right out. And I believe my vegetables are almost done charring. This is exactly what you're looking for, a solid black. This is gonna give you so much depth of flavor. This spot right here is caramelized sugar. It's also the charred skin of the tomato. And so you want to see that on all sides of the tomato. The garlic is gonna go pretty quick, so I'm just gonna get a couple of dark spots and I'll throw those into the pan. And then your onion, that is what we want to see on our onions. And now I'm gonna pull my garlic. I'm just going to toss both of these in the pot where I'm gonna be cooking the soup. And actually my onion is done, so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that in the pot. While these vegetables are charring, we're going to take 2 of my chili guajillos, and I'm gonna cut these into little strips. These are gonna be used as garnish. The easier way to do this is with a nice pair of kitchen shears and literally just slice away. All right. These tomatoes smell like they're done, and they're not hissing as much, so that's my cue that these are ready to go. So we will just transfer everybody over, turn this pan off, and now we're ready to cook the soup. So now we've got our charred vegetables, which will act as the base to the soup. So now we're gonna just layer on some more flavors. So what I'm gonna add next is some Mexican oregano. It is actually different than Italian oregano and pretty similar, but Mexican oregano is a little bit more floral. If you can't find it or you just wanna use what you have in your cabinet, that's totally fine. And then this herb is called epazote. This is another very common herb in Mexican cuisine. It has a very, very strong, stringent kind of smell to it when it's raw, but it mellows out and it starts to get a little bit sweet and anise-like when you cook it. So we're just gonna throw 3 sprigs in. Now we're adding our chiles. This combination, the guajillo and the ancho, are gonna work so well together. We're gonna get like some sweetness and some earthiness from the ancho, and we're gonna get this beautiful color and a little bit of sharpness and acidity from the guajillo. Now we're going to add our fresh chicken stock. This is 6 cups of homemade chicken stock. And now we're going to bring this to a boil. I will start it on high heat, and then once it comes up to a boil, I will reduce it down to a simmer. Finally, we're going to add salt. So now we're gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes. What we're looking for is we want all the vegetables and all the chilies to be completely tender. Now, while this is simmering, we're going to fry up the tortillas and the chilies. So now, in order to fry up the tortillas and the chilies, we have to have hot oil. So I'm using a high-sided heavy pot, because if anything splatters, it's gonna hit the wall. So this is gonna make life much better for cleanup. And this is about 3/4 of an inch of oil. Turn this on high. I want it to get super, super hot. While this is heating up, and it's gonna take a few minutes, we will prep our tortillas. Just stack them up, and you can cut these to whatever thickness you want. I personally like really thin, almost like matchstick size. I think they're just really fun. They kind of curl up. They look good in your bowl. No big deal if some are a little bit thicker than the others. Don't worry about it. Use whatever corn tortilla is readily available and you have access to. All right, so my tortillas are cut and my chilies we cut earlier. I think this oil is ready. We are looking for a temperature around 350 degrees. That's gonna give us optimal browning on the tortilla. But if you don't have a thermometer, you can just take a whole tortilla and just dip it into the oil. And if you see these bubbles, that's your cue that it's ready. So now we're ready to fry the chilies. So I'm gonna sprinkle them in. We immediately see them bubble, and then just go in, give them a stir. They're really pretty red color. They're getting a little bit of browning on the edges. And as soon as we see a brick red color, we're just gonna pull them. All right, and there we go. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're ready to fry the tortillas. This step is going to really depend on how fresh and how moist your tortillas are. If there's a lot of moisture in them, it'll take a little bit longer. If they're a little drier, it'll take a little bit less time. So I usually just throw in a handful and then just sprinkle them in. We'll get some nice bubbly action. We want to keep these moving. These are gonna take a couple of minutes to get really nice and crispy. I also really like the way that they kind of curl up. I'm just moving them so that nobody sticks in the pan. Corn and chilies, best combination ever. What I'm looking for is deep golden brown color. That color is going to be your indicator that the tortillas are crisp, that all of the moisture has been removed, and that they're starting to brown. I hear some breaking. That is my cue that these are ready to go. Look at that. Oh, they're so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Okay, so while these are hot, I'm gonna give them a little bit of salt. They'll absorb all of that salt and they'll be really, really beautifully seasoned. Now, I feel like I can go ahead and just do the rest of them. Drop these in. Oh, I love a good dramatic fry moment. And then again, same as before, just keep them moving. We don't want anybody to stick. Not a lot of bubbles. We're starting to get a little bit of deep golden brown, and I hear a little bit of a crunch, so that is my cue. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, it's so beautiful. All right, and now our toppings are ready to go. We are done frying. So now that those are safely away from me, I'm gonna check on the soup, which is simmering beautifully, and you can see, look how beautifully tender these are. This is what you want to see. Like, it's just literally falling apart. And look how much of the color has been infused in the broth. It smells amazing. I don't smell individual ingredients. I smell one cohesive soup. So we're gonna turn this off and then just let it cool ever so slightly before we blend it. All right, soup has cooled down enough that I feel good about blending it. The way that I normally do this is I just go in and just pull out the large pieces of chili and vegetable, get all the big guys out. I want to pulverize the pieces of vegetables as much as possible. If there's a few chunks in there, it's totally fine. If it gets really, really super smooth, that's totally fine. It's all a matter of what you like to eat and what your machine is capable of. Now that all the big pieces are in, I'm just gonna finish it off and pour the rest of this in. Now, whenever I tell anyone to blend something that's hot, there are a couple of things that I think are really important. First of all, you want to make sure that your lid is securely in the jar. Secondly, take a big kitchen towel, put it over the top, and hold the lid down. So this will ensure that if anything happens, the lid's gonna stay on, nothing is gonna splash out, nothing's gonna get dirty, and you're not gonna get burnt. The other thing is, you always wanna start as low as possible on your appliance, and then gradually increase the speed. That will not only ensure that you get the smoothest blend, but again, for safety's sake, it's always best to start low. So here we go. Okay, so I find that normally around 60 seconds is the optimal amount of blending time for soups and sauces. So we'll just go ahead and give this a check. Oh, prepare yourself for the aroma. Oh my God, wow, it smells so good. So we are ready to go. I'm gonna transfer this back into the pot. Ah. It's so beautiful. I love this consistency. And now I'm going to get everything ready for serving and, more importantly, eating. It's time to eat. This is actually a really fun part. Honestly, there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's all about what you like. I'm gonna show you the way I like to build it, just for, you know, kind of aesthetic purposes, but really just have a lot of fun. So I'm gonna go in with my hands. I'm gonna start with a little chicken, and this is some beautifully roasted chicken that we just shredded up. And I'm gonna add a little bit of soup to this. This is gonna help warm the chicken up, and also the shredded chicken is gonna absorb all of this soupy goodness. Oh, look at that. This texture is just insane. Okay, so now, got the chicken and the soup. I'm gonna throw in some fried tortillas. And don't be stingy with these, because everybody loves them. Certainly I do. That looks really good. Okay, and now, I really love that fresh crunch, especially from the white onions. So I really like these. If you're not into onions, you can use scallions, you can use chives. And then you can chop your cilantro, or you can just use the leaves and the tender stems, and that's totally fine. And then we are going to go in with a little bit of queso. This is queso fresco. And then this is some crema. This is going to give you like a nice, cool, refreshing moment. That dairy is just gonna kind of cut through the richness and the spiciness of the broth. And then we have our beautiful fried guajillos. I'm gonna crunch up a couple of them just to give a little bit of textural difference. Last but not least, we have a little squeeze of lime. This is gonna give you a little pop of acid, a little pop of freshness. All right, I'm going in. Yes. It's so rich. It's creamy, it's smoky, it's spicy, it's sweet, it's crunchy. It's so comforting, it's so warm and delicious, and best of all, it was super easy to make. It's that velvety, smooth soup, and then you get pop of onion, crunch of the tortilla. It's so amazing. This is such an incredible meal. Honestly, because it's so simple, it's perfect for Tuesday night after work, especially when it's cold outside, or turn it into something double, triple the recipe, invite all your friends over and have a build your own Sopa Azteca party. It will be so incredibly fun, hanging out with your friends, watching them build these amazing soups.